most asked questions I get is, where in Florida should I live? Well, where you should live. And the answer to that is very individual. It all depends on who you are. Most of the videos I've done on Florida are in my area in Southwest Florida, because that's what I know, this is where I live, and so I share, what I have around me. But I did do a little research, and I watched other videos, and I've talked to people that live down here, and I asked about the pros and cons about the different areas in Florida to help give you an answer that might help a little bit when deciding where in Florida you should move. And it takes a lot of research, and sometimes it's overwhelming. If you narrowed it down to the state, that's pretty good. Sometimes we want to move from wherever we are, but we don't know where we want to go. But if you narrowed it down to this state, Florida, then that's pretty good that you've gone that far already. Now we have to decide where in Florida you want to be. This video can actually help others who are thinking about different states. So kind of think about that if you're planning on moving to another state, the things that you might want to think about. So let's start with Florida in general. We have the Northwest, we have the Northeast, we have Central Florida, you've got the Gulf Coast, you've got the Atlantic Coast, you've got Miami, you've got Naples down there, and then you got the Keys. Those are the main areas, regions of Florida. Some will say they love Jacksonville, or they love Tallahassee, or they love Miami, they love Naples, they love Tampa, they love, whatever region they are moving to. For starters, if you have a job relocation, well, your problem solved. You're going to move to where your job is relocating. If you are a person that's retired and can move anywhere in Florida, then if you have X amount of dollars, you want to make sure that it fits in your budget. One of my favorite sites is City Data, as far as trying to find statistics on a city, because many people want to know, well, will I fit into a city? They want something maybe diverse, different ethnicities. They might want a town that's for people that are older, or a town that's more for families, or a town that's for younger people in their 20s who are looking, maybe to go out dancing and night clubbing. Everybody has something that they're looking for. Now, if you're moving here for college, then you need to find out what's the best college for your career. Don't just move to a town because you like it, but the college is not good. So if you're going to college and that's something important, find out which college is the best. We have a lot of colleges down here. Tallahassee has a really great college. There's one in Tampa. Of course, they're everywhere. Jacksonville, Miami, they're everywhere. So there's a lot of colleges out there. Pick one that is good for you if you can get into it, and if you do, that's where you live. And again, I've said it over and over, try to find a place that, as far as apartments or a house goes, live as close as possible to where you will live or work or hang out, because the traffic's bad. Many of you are coming from worse situations. If you're coming from New Jersey, New York, parts of California, if you're coming from other cities, you might not think anything of it. I see car accidents every time I go out. I'm stuck in traffic anytime I get on the highway. And you hear that? Our town has a helicopter, which is great because it can fly folks out to either Sarasota Memorial Hospital or to Tampa or St. Petersburg. And that brings me to health. Do you have health issues, like serious health issues that you need to see a special doctor? So you might want to do research on that. You may want to move to where that doctor that you want to see is, so you're not driving 3 hours to get there. I will say that the St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater, that whole area, specialized doctor, pediatrics, and also there's a university there in St. Petersburg. That's a real nice area, and it's on the Gulf of Mexico. So there's something to think about, health. And of course, jobs. Usually the bigger the town, the more jobs that are available. And if you're not being transferred, then you need to find out where you can go that will have the type of job that you are looking for. And then of course there's some of you who want to start up a business. So you have to see where your business would do best. And for research purposes, I say watch YouTube videos and Google search or Yahoo search or whatever you want to do, but just type in your question and the answer will appear, or at least pretty close, and that will start you on your research. Now, something else to think about is, do you really love the beach? Do you want to be near the beach? Is that important to you? Get that salt air and going down to the beach and going swimming or just watching the sunsets on the beach. I really love that. Some people don't care about the beach and they never go there, so it doesn't matter to them if they're near that or not. So Orlando's a really big hot spot for jobs, especially in hospitality, tourism. You got kids, you got Disney World, of course. Disney World costs an arm and a leg, so keep that in mind. Just because you live in Florida doesn't mean you go to Disney World. They even have payment plans now for people to be able to afford to go there. The bigger cities will also have things like museums and operas and plays and that type of thing, you know, the arts. So if that's something that's important to you, you will want to make sure you're near Sarasota or Tampa or Miami or Naples. You know, those bigger cities will have more to offer as far as the arts and jobs and places to eat, things to do. Florida's a place where people come to retire because it's just easier on the body, especially if you have arthritis or other health issues. You don't want to be slipping on ice and putting the boots on and scraping the car or shoveling just because you don't want to or you can't anymore. And sometimes the cold hurts the body. That's why so many people come down here as they get older, just because living is a little bit easier. There's a lot of mobile services for folks. You've got people that will come and do your laundry for you, you know, take your laundry, do it, deliver food to you, wash your car. There's car mechanics in their vans that will come to your house to change your oil or fix your car. There's a lot of mobile businesses. So if you're into starting a business, then this is the place to come to, because people need services, mobile services that will come to them. Dog walkers who will come to your home and walk your dog for you if you're unable to or don't want to. I mean, there's something for everybody. So I was looking at Naples. Naples is absolutely beautiful. Naples number 6 in the United States as far as how expensive it is. Now that's just one article I read, and that was from 1 or 2 years ago. But it is expensive. And I haven't spent enough time in Naples to tell you that where to go, but I know that middle class people can live there as well. Florida in general, there's a lot of jobs in hospitality, like hotels, tourism, and then of course hospitals, healthcare, because of the older population. And then of course there's technology. I thought I read something about Orlando for the gaming. I don't know the details, so sorry about that. So you'll just have to go online. I don't know if it's monsterjobs.com or there's different just job searches. And one of the things people do sometimes is call temporary agencies, job agencies, just to get a temporary job, just to get down here so they can have a job, so they can lease out an apartment. It's a real tricky thing to get a job if you're not living here. And if you're not living here and you don't have a job, it's hard to get the apartment without showing like a year's worth of rent or paying a year's worth of rent. Unless you're buying a home, that's another story. There's a lot of research to be done as far as that goes. Now, one of the things I didn't think about when we moved down here was how long it could take you to get out of Florida if you're driving out of the state. Say you want to, like we take road trips to Ohio and back to visit family every year, but just from the Sarasota area to the Florida border takes about 5 hours, and that's just stopping for gas and, you know, the rest stop for a quick bite to eat. So it takes a while. So if you're even further than we are, we're just, you know, about an hour south of Tampa. So if you go down to Naples or all the way down to Miami or the Keys, it's going to take you a long time to get out of here because there's not that many highways to get out of Florida, especially if there's an evacuation, which thankfully we haven't had to worry about in the 7 years we've lived here. If there's a hurricane or something like that, it would be very difficult to get out. But the good news about hurricanes, before people worry about it too much, is that even if there is a hurricane and even if you have to evacuate, Usually, days ahead of time, a week ahead of time, that something big's coming, but you usually don't know where it's going to hit until the last day or two. And even then, like Charlie, a hurricane can turn very quickly and hit your town when you didn't expect it. Because they were supposed to go up towards Tampa, but it hit Punta Gorda and people lost their houses. Our accountant actually lost his house. A couple other people I talked to lost their house. Don't be so afraid of all the bad things that could happen in your life. Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes out in California. If you want to go somewhere or do something, do your research and do it. Don't, not do it because you're afraid something could happen. Something could happen anywhere. You could fall and hit your head on the ice in the north. So don't not come down here because you're worried about hurricanes. But that's just my opinion. Here's the other thing. If you're not worried about driving out of the state or driving that long to get out of the state, you might be worrying about airports. How do I fly back up north to see my family or out west to see my family? Am I near an airport? So the closest airport I have is the Fort Myers, which is about 45 minutes south of here. It's not too bad, and it's a great airport, but I wouldn't mind being closer to an airport. There's a smaller airport in Punta Gorda, which is 25-30 minutes, and then Sarasota, again, about 40 minutes north of here. So I'm not real close to an airport, and I would say that's the one downfall of where I am. I would like to be closer to airports so I could jump on a plane within 15-20 minutes. Yeah, so finding an airport, now if you're a person who wants to fly overseas quite a bit, you want an international airport, so closer to Miami might be a place, because I noticed that even Fort Myers or Tampa, they don't have direct flights to Spain, for example. And it's so tiring to travel, as you know if you travel. So I like direct flights whenever possible. The other thing too is if you have kids and you're looking for a friendly town, you're gonna have to check the school systems out. So you might want to type in best schools in Florida. Say you don't have a particular area you want to live and you just need to start somewhere. So any question you have, whatever the main thing is, type it in and then you can go from there. So you know that, okay, Naples has the best education. I don't know if that's true or not, I'm just saying. But then you say, well, it's not something I can quite afford, or I can't find a job there, so then you got to find maybe the next best school and then check that area. You have to narrow things down that way. I like checking out 2 or 3 different sites and compare their statistics and demographics and see if it's about the same. Because if I start seeing one site saying one thing and another site saying something completely different, I need to have a third site to say, okay, is this right? Because you just never know, because sometimes the statistics change from year to year. So it's something that you need to look at, how old is that information, because things are changing every year very quickly. The other thing is traffic, and I complain about it all the time. Of course, traffic is going to be worse where there's more people. And unfortunately, where there's more people is where there's more things to do, like the museums and the hospitals and the schools and the restaurants and whatever else that people want to see or do. And that's why you have the traffic. Everybody's congregating at the one place that's a great place to be, so it's something you got to deal with. Of course, there's buses. I haven't tried the buses. Unfortunately, we don't have a train in this particular town. I thought I heard there was one in Venice, but I don't know the details of it or what kind of a train. But it sure would be nice to have better public transportation, and I was mentioning this in a comment to one of our viewers. It would really be ideal to have public transportation so I wouldn't have to drive. Of course, you've got your Ubers, Lyft, taxis, and I know that some older folks who don't want to drive, they make a deal with the taxi company. And I don't know if you could do that with Uber and Lyft, Lyft. If you haven't heard of them, they're like Uber. I don't know if you can make a deal with them if they take you once a week to shopping or to school or whatever. So in case you don't want to take a bus, I don't know if they have where they give you discounts. So you'd have to investigate on that question. The other thing people worry about are sinkholes. I will say that what I know is between Tampa and Orlando, it's called Sinkhole Alley. And even though it's called that, you're not going to be getting sinkholes every day. And when you do, they usually are of the smaller kind, usually because a pipe had busted, water's draining. Unfortunately, you probably heard of like that one guy who died in his house because of a big sinkhole. The whole house caved in. And that's scary. Yeah, it is. So I understand your concerns about that. I don't worry too much about it because usually, and I don't even know if in their situation, if they had any clue that there was something happening. Because when you start getting cracks in your walls or in your driveway, you've got to check that out. If all of a sudden you see a new crack in your foundation, the floor or the ground or the walls, then you have somebody come and inspect the situation. But usually a house doesn't just cave in like that. So I'm wondering if what happened in Tampa, if they had clues or signs that something was happening. Sometimes you don't pay attention to those things, and that's why it's important to really pay attention to your surroundings for many reasons. And where we live, I haven't seen a sinkhole other than down a street because of a pipe busted, and it was a small little in the road, and they fixed it, and that was the end of it. So I don't worry too much about sinkholes, even though I do have sinkhole insurance on our house. And that's the other thing, insurance. You need to check different areas once you narrow down the place you want to live. How much is the insurance? The closer you are to water, or if you're in a flood zone, we're not in a flood zone, you want to check to make sure your house is not going to get flooded, because you might be looking at that beautiful house on the internet where you come down and it's a sunny day and everything looks great, and then it rains and all of a sudden your house is flooded. But as far as insurance purposes, your insurance will be probably much more than another house. Our house insurance is very expensive as it is, but the property tax is not bad. Our property tax is a third of what we paid back in Ohio, but the insurance is 4 times more than what we paid in Ohio. Of course, every property is different, so you have to compare. If you have a tiny house, a small house, the insurance and taxes are going to be less, and the upkeep and everything else. The bigger your house, the more your taxes are going to be, the more the insurance is going to be. So all the things you need to consider. If you're a young person, it seems to be the East Coast has a lot of the nightclub type of atmosphere that you might want to see when you're 21. Now, a lot of people say, well, all of Florida's old. Well, it's funny because I'll be 50 this year, and of course the 19 and 21-year-olds are calling us old. So I'm not old, I'm not. I don't feel like, up in here I don't feel old. People who are 50, they might think 80, 90-year-old people are old, okay? So it really depends on what you're looking for. In every town, no matter how old the population is, you're going to have plenty of younger people. Well, I don't want to say plenty, depends on you. What's plenty? I don't know. Everybody has a definition for everything, so I can't tell you. That's why I love statistics. It's very clear, and you have to decide, yes, I could live in this neighborhood. This fits me and my family. This is a good area for us. And that's why I say when you move down here, I highly, highly recommend that you rent, not off of Craigslist. I'm going to say it every time I talk about this, not off of Craigslist. Go through a realtor or an apartment complex. I would stick to that, even if you can do it just for 1 or 3 months, so you have time to drive around, because you might hate the East Coast. Like, I've talked to people who lived in Miami for a long time. Some absolutely loved it. They moved to the West Coast and they're like, oh, I'm so bored, there's not enough to do. But they're younger people and they're used to, the nightlife and all the fun things that Miami has to offer. I'd love to go to Miami. I actually would live there for a little while. That's the nice thing about downsizing and decluttering and not having a bunch of stuff, is you can move around a little bit easier. Especially if it's within the same state. It's a lot easier to move within a state and more affordable than when you're moving out of state, because when you move out of state, it gets very expensive. Not just because you got to move all your stuff, but because you got to change your registration for your car and other things. And then I've had other people from Miami that moved here, and they're like, oh my God. And now when I say Miami, I don't mean Miami alone, but the whole area down there, southeast Florida. They're like, oh my God, it took me half an hour to get a quarter mile down the street to get to Publix. which is a grocery store down here in Florida. For those of you who don't know, one of our viewers suggested I let you folks know that what Publix is, because not all of you know what Publix is. So we go to Publix and we go to Walmart for certain things. I don't go to the big Walmart. I like these smaller ones because I can get in and out of there really quickly, but I go to Publix for certain things. I found out that there's a Publix in Georgia. I looked at a map. I don't know what city it was, but anyways, it really depends on you as a person. What kind of personality you have, what kind of thing you like. Some people like living in the mountains, some want to be on the beach, and some like inland Florida there's a lot of country, and I'm not talking about Orlando is its own place, but if you go south of there's you can buy acres of land if you're into target shooting and farming and gardening and that type of thing, and you don't care about the beaches. There's a lot of land and it's affordable. There's not a whole lot there, but if you're just looking to be in a warm place and not be near cities, there's plenty of country. There's a little bit of everything for anybody who's interested in living here. You have to decide what you want, because I don't know what you want. Just because we might have the same type of family, like say you're married and you got 2 kids, you still might like Miami city life better than where I'm at. But now that our kids are a little bit older, we're ready to travel. That's why we're selling the house, and we're going to be traveling as much as we can full time. Because I'm the kind of person who likes to see different things. I like different people. I like new adventures and experiences, but that's not for everybody. So we have to find what's best, for us. I'm sorry I can't give you maybe more of what you're looking for. Somebody did ask me how we found our place when we first moved down here, and we moved to Sarasota, and I absolutely love Sarasota. Lucky for us, my 2 brothers would vacation down here every year to Siesta Key Beach because they love the beach and the sunset. They're the ones who told us. I knew that we wanted to finally come down here when we were first deciding between Carolinas and Florida, but we decided on Florida. And I know my brothers know me. I come from a family of 8, very close family, so they knew what I would like, and they were even kind enough to even check out all the apartments, and we found the apartment. So they narrowed it down for us, so that was easy for us. I feel your pain if you're coming from, don't have any idea where you want to go. We were lucky, because that was stressful enough. So that's why I'm making this video. I hope it can help a little bit. Things to think about. I didn't want to leave out the Keys. All the islands south of Miami. From what I hear, I haven't been there, I hear that it's very laid back, chilled, and has a lot to offer. I hear it's beautiful, and it's definitely a place that we want to see before we leave Florida. People that live there really, really love it. I understand it is expensive, but if it's something that you really want, then I'm sure you figure a way out how to live there. Definitely want to check out the islands because it's nothing like the rest of Florida. It has its own unique vibe. So yeah, check that out as well. If you have any other questions, please comment below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please share. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.